And it was under his tutelage that I started, because Reverend Jones and others were the local leaders. He was the national director. And I joined when I was 12, became youth director when I was 13. I really needed somebody that I could understand, Senator. And Reverend Jackson talked in a way that kids and people that had PhDs understood. Beth, your daddy spoke in a way that I didn't know what he was talking about till I was about 22. I just nodded. And I think Chuck Schumer was the only one in the room, elected official, that knew Bill Jones. And I will never forget when he was running for local office in Brooklyn. Bill Jones said, "Al, y'all look out for Schumer out there. Ted Silverman and them ain't right."
He did.
He the only one in the room know about Silver. That's how long I go back. Him and Shirley Chisholm said us out there for Steingert. I've been out in this thing a long time, but I still like to surround myself with my elders, make me feel young. So when all the staff and Nan start telling me I'm getting old, I just call Reverend Richardson, Reverend Jackson. I feel like a little boy again.
Cold.
Y'all mash up his food so he can eat it.
That's cold-blooded, Doc. It don't get no way with that. You're going to have to pay for that.
And bring Reverend Richardson his warm milk. It'll be all right. Before we hear from the candidates, let me acknowledge the congressman from Uptown Harlem, our Congressman Adriano Espaillat. We are fortunate to have a briefing right on the front lines of what is going on in Washington as the Senate and the Congress deals with the whims and the wiles of this sitting president. We are fortunate that the minority leader, and maybe I'm being prophetic saying majority leader of the U.S. Senate, has been a friend of Nash Action Network since we started. He's at every event, every occasion, comes to the House of Justice, but stands at the pinnacle of governmental power, but stands there fighting for us and to give us words and briefing on where we are and what we need to do before we serve the food is our senator from the state of New York, Senator Chuck Schumer.
Thank you, Rev. Well, thank you, Rev. And let's have a hand for the amazing job that the Reverend Al Sharpton has done for NAM and for America and for what we believe in. And now first I have an announcement to make. I am not running for president. You got plenty of those around here, including two of the best, my colleagues, Amy Klobuchar and Kirsten Gillibrand, and the great Adriano Espaillat. And it's appropriate, I always come to the events of the NAN. Was just up at the House of Justice on 145th Street for MLK Day. Go every year. And you won't have as many people 2 years from now at this event, but I'll be here. And maybe the president, hopefully, will be here too. The new president. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I mean in 2 years, when Trump is no longer president and we have elected somebody who will stand up for America and American values, not his own. The one other thing I wanted to mention. So I knew, as my friend Reverend Sharpton mentioned, Dr. Bill Jones from Brooklyn, where I'm from. I was running for Congress, as he mentioned, in 1980. One of the biggest issues was busing. The congressional district I was running in, the top third was African American, the bottom two-thirds white. And I was getting lambasted in the white areas because I wouldn't come out against busing. I thought it was wrong, I thought it was bigoted, and I wanted to stand up. And I get a call on the phone one day. Is this Chuck Schumer? Yes. This is Dr. Bill Jones. I have seen you take a courageous stand. I am going to work for you to be elected congressman. And he got Gardner Taylor and so many of the, is anyone here from Concord Baptist? There you go. And so many of the other pastors, and they put me over the top and elected me. So I am grateful. That was in 1980, when Reverend Sharpton didn't have to make jokes about being a little older. He was almost a teenager back then. And I am so grateful to Dr. Jones and so honored to be asked to speak at a breakfast, at a lunch, remembering him. Now, Dr. Jones, you may remember this, when he founded the Progressive National Baptist Convention, he had a single yet profound goal in mind: to redeem the soul of America. Now, I don't need to tell you, especially if you've been watching the news the last 2 years, the task of redeeming America's soul is more urgent than it has ever been in our nation's history. And the memory of Reverend Jones, the great towering figure of Bill Jones, calls us back in that deep baritone voice that we remember, those of us who had the honor to hear him preach, to ask us, he asks every one of us in America, as Dr. King did, what are you doing to redeem the soul of America? Let us, every one of us here, bear that question in mind today and every day, because we are gathering, my friends, amidst gathering storm clouds. I remember the night that Donald Trump was elected. It was a sad night. I was sad, my wife was sad, my daughters were sad, everybody was sad. And my daughter said, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" And I taught them the old Shirelle song. Mama said there'd be days like this. There'd be days like this, my mama said. I won't sing it. You'll all leave. And my good colleagues you won't be here for them. Now, Mama didn't even know then how many dark days were ahead. Just this past month, the White House proposes a budget that slashed trillions of dollars from public housing, from Social Security, from Medicaid, from SNAP, from so many programs that American people need. The Justice Department is busy refusing to defend our health care system in a critical court case. And if they win that case, God forbid, tens of millions of Americans will lose their health care coverage. Hundreds of millions will lose their protection for pre-existing conditions. Imagine a mama or a papa and has a son or daughter who has cancer. If they have their way in this administration, the insurance company can cut them off and they have to watch their child suffer because they can't get medical care. Mitch McConnell is altering 200 years of Senate rules just so that Republicans can speed up the confirmation for right-wing judges who want to roll back civil rights and critical protections. Senate Republicans are blocking aid to Puerto Rico because President Trump doesn't want another single dollar going to the island. Why do you think, of all the places that need aid, he'd pick Puerto Rico? We know why. And President Trump's Attorney General is resisting calls to release the special counsel's report with full transparency. I believe the American people need to know the truth. We deserve to know the truth. That report must be made public. But this room gives us strength. The fact that there are, Rev just told me, over 7,000 people here from all across America. The fact that we have two great Richardsons, one a Baptist, one an AME minister, one from my home in New York, one from Florida, gives me strength. You are our strength. And we can do it. We did it here in New York. Last November's election was transformative in New York. We saw the power shift in Albany. The first woman, the first black woman, sworn in to lead the New York State Senate. The first woman, the first black woman, named Majority Leader of the State Assembly. Crystal Steele-Peoples Spokes. And millions of Americans watched as another incredibly talented black woman. She's both charismatic and analytic. I told her last night. Stacey Abrams cleaned President Trump's clock when she responded to the State of the Union address. I was proud to choose her to do that. We had the youngest ever elected woman congressman here in New York, and Latina, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The Hudson Valley, a largely white area, resisted all of those Republican appeals to bigotry and racism and elected a superstar in Antonio Delgado. And we saw our very own son of Brooklyn, my neighbor and friend, Hakeem Jeffries, ascend to the 4th ranking post in the House of Representatives. Even Staten Island elected a Democrat. So plain and simple, what happened in New York in 2018 is going to happen in America in 2020. And I want to tell you, we have a lot to fight for. I'm going to be brief on these issues because my colleagues I know are waiting. They have to catch planes to go to some place called Iowa or somewhere. I'm going to Queens. We have to fight for voting rights. They are taking away our voting rights, as Stacey Abrams learned. We are fighting for bill. We saw what happened in Georgia and North Carolina. They had the nerve in North Carolina to say in public on their emails they're going to do a redistricting plan that made it hard for minorities, for black people to elect representatives to their state house. Can you imagine? And this is after the great, he said he'd call balls and strikes, Justice Roberts said, we can repeal the Voting Rights Act. They're the most important part of the Voting Rights Act. There's no racism in America anymore. And then 19 states passed restrictive voting laws in the next year. We have an obligation to undo that decision in Congress, and we will fight to do it this year. We have an obligation to make sure that public housing and affordable housing is made available to many, many more of our people. We have an obligation for economic justice. Income distribution in America is getting worse and worse and worse. The top 1%, the top 10% are getting almost all of the wealth and too much of the income. We have to make sure that through education and housing and health care and jobs and environmental justice, that the money goes to the average person, the middle-class person, the person struggling to get to the middle class. If we don't do that, we're not going to have the same America in a very few years. So we have so much to do. We need more to go, longer to go in criminal justice reform. We passed the First Step Act. It did some good, but it's appropriately named First Step. And one of our goals in this Congress is to do a second and third step so criminal justice reform is fuller and more robust. We have so much to do. And so, my friends, we need you. This is an issue that Nan has cared about for decades. This is an issue that you, so many of you, each in your own way, have fought for decades. But America is now at risk in a way it has never been. Racism, bigotry, economic injustice are rampant in the land, and we have to stop it. I have faith in all of you because at the end of the day, if we fight, America will find a way. We have triumphed by working together, and with your prayers and support, we'll triumph again. So, folks, let's keep marching. Let's keep speaking out. Let's keep the faith that Dr. Jones, Dr. King, and every other great American who fought and continues to fight to redeem the soul of this country prevails, and we will win and we will succeed. God bless you. God bless NAN, and God bless the United States of America in its return to justice.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Reverend.
God bless you. Come on, let's give him some love. He's over there fighting for us.